Welcome back to Truth Serum. Can you believe it's already the season finale?
Time flies when you're exploring the unknown, right?
It really does. And for this last deep dive, we're going to tackle a mystery that's fascinated people for centuries. The Bermuda Triangle.
Yeah, a place that's basically like synonymous with the unexplained. Ships and planes just vanishing. Poof.
Gone without a trace. So today we're diving deep into the science, the myths, all of it. Maybe we can figure out what's really going on in that infamous patch of ocean.
Sounds like a plan.
First things first, though. We need to set the scene geographically. We're talking about a region in the North Atlantic, often defined by points in Miami, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico, right?
Exactly. A huge area, actually. Roughly 500,000 square miles.
Wow. Okay. So not just some tiny little hidden cove, then.
Nope, not at all. It's a major shipping route, tons of traffic going through there all the time. Important to remember that when we're talking about, incidents that have happened.
It's like a busy highway, but for ships.
Perfect analogy. And like any busy highway, there are bound to be some accidents.
True, but I think what makes the Bermuda Triangle so different is the kind of incidents, disappearances, abandoned ships. It's like something out of a maritime ghost story.
Yeah, it definitely has that spooky vibe. And these stories have been around for a long time, going back to, I think, at least the mid-1800s.
Really?
Yeah.
That far back?
Yep. But the term Bermuda Triangle itself, that didn't catch on till much later, mid-20th century. Articles and books, really shining a light on these cases, often with a bit of dramatic flair, gotta say.
It's amazing how media shapes these stories, right?
Totally.
A few big disappearances hit the news, like Flight 19 in 1945, the USS Cyclops back in 1918, and suddenly everyone's talking about the Bermuda Triangle. But, those are just two incidents out of so many that have happened in this busy, ocean highway. Do you think they deserve all that attention, though?
It's tough to say. Those cases are definitely tragic and mysterious, no doubt about it, and they've played a big role in how the public sees the Bermuda Triangle. But like we said, most ships and planes go through there with zero problems.
Right. Easy to focus on the scary stuff. I guess that's where the science comes in, though. There's got to be natural stuff happening in that region that could explain some of it, right? Like, I've heard a lot about methane hydrates, how they might play a role in shipwrecks. Can you break that down for us a bit?
Sure. Methane hydrates are like pockets of methane gas trapped in these ice crystals on the ocean floor, basically frozen natural gas.
Okay, I'm following.
Now, if those deposits become unstable and release a bunch of gas, well, that can drastically change the density of the water above. A ship sailing over that area could suddenly lose buoyancy and sink. Just like that.
Wow, that's kind of terrifying. You have to wonder if that explains some of those old disappearances, right?
Yeah.
Especially the ones that happened way before we even knew about this kind of stuff.
It's definitely possible. It shows you how even something natural can seem totally unexplainable if you don't have the science to back it up.
Makes sense. And it's not just what's happening below the surface either, is it? There's also the weather, the ocean currents. The Bermuda Triangle is famous for crazy weather, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Super unpredictable. You can have sudden, powerful storms, hurricanes, water spouts, you name it.
And then there's the Gulf Stream, right? That super strong current that can really mess things up. And I bet it carries wreckage away from a sinking, too. Makes finding stuff impossible.
Absolutely. That Gulf Stream is no joke. Imagine you're a sailor back in the 1800s, caught in a sudden storm, whipped up by that current. Your ship goes down, the wreckage gets scattered everywhere. No one ever finds a trace.
Yeah.
It's easy to see how that turns into a supernatural story.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if you throw in the possibility of rogue waves, those massive, unpredictable waves that can just appear out of nowhere.
Oh, for sure. Those can take down even the biggest ships. And then we also have to factor in, us, humans. Navigation mistakes, equipment malfunctions, bad judgment, all those things can lead to accidents at sea, especially in a place as challenging as the Bermuda Triangle.
It's a good reminder that the ocean is powerful. Even with all our technology, it can be a pretty unforgiving place.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm seeing how the picture of the Bermuda Triangle is more complicated than just spooky stories. But what about the cases that don't seem to fit those explanations? Like the ones that really make you wonder. That's where the paranormal theories come in, right?
Right. And things are about to get a lot more interesting. It's like when logic fails, our imaginations kick in, right? And the Bermuda Triangle, it's kind of become the poster child for all those wild theories.
Oh, yeah. Alien abductions, underwater cities, time travel. We've heard it all. Where do you even start with all that?
Well, you got to remember that these theories, even if they're, not exactly scientific, they come from a human place. We want to understand. And when something just vanishes and we can't explain it, well, it's easy to jump to something more exciting.
It's like those old maps, Here be dragons. The unknown is scary, but it's also fascinating.
Right. Like with alien abductions, for example. We're obsessed with the idea of aliens, right? Advanced technology, stuff we can't even fathom. So a plane disappears, no explanation, boom, maybe it was a UFO, right?
It makes for a good story, even if it's probably more fiction than fact.
Yeah.
But what about the theories that get into the really weird stuff? Time warps, like jumping between dimensions, all that. Is there any truth to those scientifically?
Honestly, no, not really. The laws of physics, as far as we know, don't allow for that kind of stuff. Time travel, bending reality, it's fun to think about, but it's not really grounded in reality.
Of course, of course. It's all part of the mystery, right? Who hasn't daydreamed about stumbling into a portal to another world? But speaking of ancient mysteries, we got to talk about the Atlantis connection. The idea that this lost city, maybe with some crazy advanced tech, is sitting at the bottom of the Bermuda Triangle, causing all this weirdness.
Classic.
Totally classic. Atlantis, right. This amazing civilization that just disappeared under the waves. People have been fascinated by it for, well, forever. And the Bermuda Triangle just fits the story perfectly, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe some leftover Atlantean tech is messing with our instruments, creating those electromagnetic disturbances, or even like warping time and space.
Okay, that's a pretty cool thought, gotta admit. Imagine sailing right over the ruins of a civilization more advanced than us. Makes you think about all that lost knowledge.
Yeah, for sure. And I think even if the more fantastical theories aren't scientifically sound, they can lead to some really interesting questions.
Yeah.
Make us consider different possibilities,
Yeah.
Right, got to keep an open mind. But we also need to look at the evidence, right? And there are plenty of people who say the whole Bermuda Triangle thing is way overblown, that it's just a combination of human mistakes and natural forces, nothing paranormal.
Yeah, and that's a valid argument. If you look at the statistics, the number of disappearances in the Bermuda Triangle isn't actually that different from other busy parts of the ocean.
So it's more about how we see it then. We're drawn to the mystery because of movies and books and all that, but the actual data doesn't really back it up.
It's possible. Plus, not every incident gets reported, or the details might get messed up over time, so the whole thing gets exaggerated, and suddenly the Bermuda Triangle is this place where, anything can happen.
It's like a game of telephone, but with shipwrecks and missing planes. The story just gets wilder with each retelling. But even if some of the stories are exaggerated, there are still those cases that just don't make sense, even with all the science we have now. What about the official investigations? The U.S. Navy, the Coast Guard, they've looked into this, right? What do they say?
Both the Navy and Coast Guard are pretty clear on this. They say most incidents in the Bermuda Triangle can be explained by natural causes, human error, or, a mix of both. Unpredictable weather, strong currents, difficult navigation, they all play a role.
So they're not buying into the alien theories or anything like that?
Not really, but they're not ignoring it completely. They've used submersibles, advanced radar, all that to map the ocean floor. They want to understand everything about the region, from the currents to the geology.
Makes sense. If you're going to rule out the paranormal, you got to be sure you know what's going on down there, right? What about other research? Have any independent groups found anything interesting?
Oh, definitely. There have been lots of private expeditions. They use sonar, underwater vehicles, all kinds of cool tech to explore the depths of the triangle. And they found some pretty wild stuff. Underwater sinkholes, huge methane hydrate deposits. It's all adding to our understanding of how complex that area really is.
It's like the more we learn about the Bermuda Triangle, the more complicated it gets. It's not just about ghosts and aliens. It's about nature, human actions, and, well, the things we still don't understand.
Exactly. And that's what makes the Bermuda Triangle so fascinating, right? It's a reminder that even in this, super scientific and tech-driven world, there are still mysteries out there.
It's like a little dose of wonder in a world that sometimes feels like it's all figured out.
Yeah.
But before we get too philosophical, I think we need to talk about how the Bermuda Triangle has become this, cultural icon. It's more than just a place, right? It's a symbol, a metaphor for the unknown.
Yeah.
It really is amazing how the Bermuda Triangle has become this, pop culture thing, almost its own genre,
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder, why this specific spot? Why not, the Sargasso Sea? Or that super deep trench, the Mariana Trench?
Well, I think it's a few things, really. The location is definitely a factor. It's close to those busy shipping lanes, popular vacation spots, so it's always on people's minds. Plus, the kind of incidents that have happened there.
Right, those early ones like the Cyclops and Flight 19, they really got the ball rolling. They became the foundation of the whole legend.
Exactly. And once those stories were out there, the media and pop culture, they just ran with it, adding more details, making it more dramatic with each retelling.
It's like we were saying before, the telephone game, but with shipwrecks. And now there's so much out there, stories, theories. It's hard to know what's real and what's, well, made up.
That's the tricky part. We have to be a little skeptical, but we also have to remember that there are things out there we just don't fully get yet.
It's like finding that balance, not jumping to aliens every time something weird happens, but also not pretending we have all the answers.
Exactly. And that's, I think, a big takeaway from all this. The Bermuda Triangle, it reminds us that there's still so much to discover, so much we don't know about our world.
Even with all the science and technology, there's still room for mystery.
Right. It's about, being okay with not knowing everything, accepting that the world is vast and complex, and there are things out there we might never fully understand.
Well said. Which actually brings us to the end of our deep dive into the Bermuda Triangle. And, well, the end of this season of Truth Serum.
It's gone by so fast.
I know, right? We've covered some amazing topics, ancient mysteries, the latest science, always trying to uncover the truth, get past the headlines and the hype.
And we couldn't have done it without you, the listeners. Your questions, your thoughts, they've made these conversations so much richer.
Absolutely. We're so grateful for your support this season, and we're already cooking up some incredible stuff for next season. But before we go, we want to hear from you. What topics have you been hooked on? What mysteries are you dying for us to explore?
Hit us up on social media or on our website. Let us know what you're thinking. We love hearing from our fellow truth seekers.
So until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, keep searching for the truth. Thanks for listening to Truth Serum.